Hi, my name is Dina Friedman. I'm 65 years old. My story begins 60 years ago when I was 5 years old, and I was sitting on the couch one day in the living room, and my mother came in and she said, "Close your eyes." So I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to get some kind of present or we're going to play hide and seek. But no, what she did is she started playing notes on the piano. And she'd say, "What note is that?" And because I have perfect pitch, meaning that I can hear a note and identify it, I just told her what note it was. For me, it was like saying, "What color is this? This is red. This is black." So she made a very big deal out of this fact that I could name notes and immediately started signing me up for piano lessons. My family is filled with professional musicians. My grandfather was a concert violinist, and then on the other side of my family, several relatives played professionally all their lives. So music was held as this big thing in our family, and I felt that it was my job to carry out this family legacy because I had inherited this gift of perfect pitch. Well, I'm a reasonable pianist, but I was never a great pianist. And while I might have had perfect pitch, I just did not have the technique or the patience or the perseverance to really go on the concert track. And I felt that very deeply pretty early as a child. Probably by the time I was 10 or 11, I kind of knew that I could not do what I felt was expected of me. So when I was 14, I quit piano lessons and felt that it was much later the worst decision that I ever made because music continued to call to me. So, fast forward to 2020, we are in the pandemic. There isn't much to do. The garden has been put to bed, which kind of carried me through the summer of 2020. And bread baking only has so much passion for me. So I thought, okay, it's time to go back to playing the piano. This was really difficult for me, even though I had kind of dabbled at the piano all my life. Even well after I quit lessons, I encouraged both my children to do music. And so music was always part of our lives, but it wasn't something that I felt was something for me. It felt like something I had failed at. So, my goal for going back to the piano was that I had to tell myself the minute I start judging myself, I have to walk away. Now, I had been doing yoga for about 15 years, and I'm no great yogi either. But what I learned from doing yoga was the sense of patience, the sense of if you keep working at something, eventually, eventually, you will make small incremental improvements, and that the goal of any of these things is not in the outcome, it's in the process. So I was trying to take that great yoga wisdom to piano. And this was a story that I wrote called Imperfect Pitch of my journey to reclaim the piano, reclaim myself as a musician. This involved thinking a lot about my family, my background, researching the many ancestors who were all passed on, what their relationship was with music. Many of them, as I mentioned, were professional, speaking with second cousins and third cousins from other branches of the family, many of whom went into music, and really looking at the good, the bad, the ugly in terms of how music impacted my life, impacted the lives of the people who came before me and the people who came after me. I have two children. Both were very serious about music in their early lives. One ended up being injured and not being able to pursue it seriously. The other went through conservatory and then is off on their own doing a much more creative music in a much more creative musical career. So every day, starting in November 2020, in the evening when I felt like, all right, I've done all this isolation stuff, there's nothing else to do, I would sit down at the piano and and the story is just about the feelings that came up, my past, all of the things that I learned from that perseverance and from that goal to play without judgment. So, some of the things that I have learned are that, and these are the things I would say to my younger self. Number one, you are perfect just the way they are. Perfect pitch and perfect are two totally separate things. Secondly, and I've learned this also a lot from writing because I am a writer. I have published two young adult novels, a book of poetry, many essays and short stories in various literary journals. So I've been at writing my whole life. And for some reason, in writing, that aura of having to be perfect does not hang over me in the same way, even though it does mean I can persevere and persevere and persevere and revise and revise and revise until I get a writing outcome that I feel good about. And even then, probably a year later, I'll look at it and revise it some more. But with piano, I had this sense that every time I sat down at the piano, it just had to be totally wonderful. So, what I learned from doing this is hey, creativity, that's what matters. It's not about the outcome, it's about the process. There's an old adage practice makes perfect. Really, that should be practice makes patient, practice makes progress, practice opens insight. So I had to really let go of all those expectations of perfectionism and really let myself be in the moment. And then the third piece of advice that I would give to my younger self would be to stop putting so much pressure on yourself. You are okay. Even if you feel other people don't love you because you're not perfect, the goal is to love yourself. What I would have loved people to say to me when I was playing the piano, even if it wasn't at concert standards, was, I love you, that was terrific, or I really felt that. I really felt what you were trying to say. This matters. So when I am 100 years old and I'm thinking about my life, what I want to really be able to take in is that I mattered. What I did mattered, whether it was music, whether it was writing, whether it was my words, whether it was my inspiration and encouragement to other writers, which is part of what I do, is to really try to inspire and encourage other writers in the various community things I'm involved with, is that you mattered. Your words and your story, your authentic experience, if you can really access that authentic experience, is absolutely going to matter in your life. And that's what success is. It's not about celebrity. It's not about achieving some level of fame where people have heard about you. In fact, when my first book came out and I had my 15 minutes of fame as an author who had published with a major house and got some reviews and some book clubs and people going after me, I realized that that really wasn't what I liked. What I liked was being in my room writing or being at the piano playing. I liked the creativity. That's what mattered to me. That the recognition and that sense of otherness that people would put between me and themselves when they were talking to me as a published author, that felt weird because that felt inauthentic. That did not feel like me. So, this is one of my passions in the world. I am a social justice activist, long time, and much of my work relates to various social justice issues. I have a short story collection that hopefully is going to come out in about a year about immigrants. I've been working about immigrant justice lately. I've been to the U.S. Mexico border and really been working on advocacy to create a just and fair asylum seeking process here in the United States. Before that, I've done environmental activism, I've done peace work, I've done a lot of activism. And sometimes this activism finds its way into my writing, and sometimes it doesn't. But a second piece of what change I want to see in the world. And it kind of does and doesn't relate to social justice, is this sense of lack of hierarchy, whether it's a hierarchy of creativity, a hierarchy of class, a hierarchy between haves and have nots, whether it's those who've been great writers or great musicians, or those who have money and those who don't, or those who have this privilege and those who don't. I would really like to see a world where everybody can feel free to be their authentic selves, to have their needs met, to have their be encouraged to express their creativity in whatever form it takes. And while my creative forms are primarily writing and music, I think these messages resonate with dancers, with actors, with visual artists, with anyone who has tried to express themselves through a creative path, who has tried to express what they want in the world, what their vision is of the world. We need to honor all of those voices throughout the world. And we need not only to honor them, we need to really listen to them, regardless of how much accolades they might have. We need to find the authentic truth in everyone. Thank you.